Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight podcast, where we shine the light and talk with businesses from all over the world to share their insights and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I am the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we help companies expand their revenue by making sure they are seen as the authority and go-to expert in their industry versus just another product and service. And today I am joined by Dr. Jim Guilkey of S4 NetQuest. So Dr. Guilkey, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm excited for this conversation. To kick us off, Dr. Guilkey, can you give us some insight into your business, your company, and who you are and the role you play within it?
Absolutely. So we're a global learning solutions firm. Um, we're custom, so we don't sell any learning off the shelf. Everything we do is custom. And it's anything from virtual classroom to digital self-paced micro modules, performance support tools. We run the gamut. We're an end-to-end service provider, from advisory services all the way through design and development of whatever final solution that a particular organization needs. Our differentiator is our design, our instructional design methodology. It's called impact learning. And what we have found, Heidi, is that a lot of companies, and we've done anything from train surgeons on how to use a surgical robot to training people at McDonald's to make hamburgers and everything in between. No matter how sophisticated the content is, we still see a lot of organizations use what we consider to be traditional training. An example of a traditional e-learning module: read, take a test. Heidi got 50%, Heidi got 85%. It's memorization. Our impact learning methodology, which is problem-based at its core, results in the application of knowledge. So the ability of learners to actually go onto the job and apply what they've learned.
I love that what you said right there. You brought up the word memorization. And just yesterday, I was speaking with somebody who is in the university space, and they do university a little differently than the traditional way. And they shared about the how memorization isn't effective. And I know back in my day going through college, literally, I don't even remember the class that I was in, because it was all based on memorization. And I did it, and I took I took two different classes from the same professor. Loved the professor once I got to know him. But at the beginning, I really struggled because I was trying to learn the material and then take the exams and put the information that I remembered down or learned down. But in his class, it was all about, he gave you a packet, and word for word, if you didn't put that exact information down on the test, you failed. And I was like, well, this isn't helping me really learn. So, and memorization isn't, it doesn't, and I have two children, 15 and 14, and memorization, you literally within 30 days of memorizing something, it's gone. So it's not effective. So my question for you is, what kind of companies do you work with? Do you work with a specific type of company in a specific niche, or do you help a broad range of different corporations and companies?
We do help a broad range. Like I said, anything from training surgeons to
Mm,
training people at McDonald's how to make hamburgers. The largest percentage of our portfolio currently is medical and pharma.
okay.
It's complex material. And really, when you look at that, let's take somebody that's selling a medical device or selling a pharma product. If
Mm.
you think of that, the more knowledgeable your group of sales associates are, that's a competitive advantage. And that's one of our taglines, is learning as a competitive advantage. If your sales associates can go out and sell a device or a pharma product to a physician, it really is about knowledge. Are you knowledgeable? Can you actually help them? And with our impact learning methodology, we've had huge success in the ability of these folks to go out and really sell at a very, very high level.
Okay, so you've developed the M-Pact learning methodology. Can you explain its core principle and how it differentiates from traditional training approaches?
Absolutely. You mentioned college, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with me. Remember cramming for an exam?
Yes.
So you could spit it back on a test, and a week later, you don't remember half of it, but you don't care because you took the test and you're done. And that's the traditional approach. With impact learning, the core of it is problem-based. And what I mean by that is give learners a problem to solve, give them content, let them collaborate. We can do virtual collaboration through, virtual avatar coaches to actual collaboration with facilitators. And that problem-based approach is much more engaging. You're giving them scenarios and you're having them apply that knowledge within, whether it's a classroom or a module, rather than simply memorizing it and spitting it back on a test. And it is the problem-based foundation that really, I think, is the core of impact learning. But the other thing is it's very, very engaging as well. So a lot of the things about gaming and scenario-based learning, and that's all inclusive in there. And especially, Heidi, with nowadays, the workforce is much younger, right? They're not going to sit in a class and listen to people lecture to PowerPoints anymore. They're not going to do that. They want learning to be sent to them via mobile phones, tablets. It's got to be engaging. It's got to be interactive. And all of that is part of our impact learning methodology.
And I'm guessing it has to be efficient. So how much does efficiency matter too with with attention spans and with technology that we're having and, how rapidly people are moving and things are shifting?
Yeah, great question. It's funny. If we take a traditional program, for instance, we can, when we transform it using impact learning, reduce the time by 33% on average. Okay. The funny thing about saying that, I'll use the term millennials generally, Gen Z, whichever group you want to talk about, they say they don't have a very long attention span, right? It's got to be short. Well, think of how long they'll sit in front of a computer if they're actually engaged. So it isn't necessarily about the amount of time. Is it engaging? Are they engaged in it? Are they learning something? Is it valuable to them? Do they find it fun to do? Those kind of things. With that said, we do still do a lot with what are called micro modules, 5-6 minute bits, but simply taking an hour's worth of stuff and segmenting it into 10 6-minute segments doesn't solve any problem whatsoever. It has to be engaging. It has to be effective. And if people value it, they'll sit as long as they need to learn it.
That's a great perspective because you hear so much these days about efficiency and lack of attention spans, and you really just flip the coin on that perspective where it's really not about the lack of time or attention span. It's about keeping them engaged because how many hours? You're right. How many hours do I sit in front of a computer a day, especially in the virtual world? And when something really catches my eye and I'm drawn to it and they're keeping me engaged, I'm going to stay there for longer. So that is fantastic. And thank you for sharing that. So how are emerging technologies like virtual and augmented reality being integrated into your training programs? And what benefits have clients experienced from these innovations?
Great question. Now, what's interesting about that is that what we're finding right now is a lot of corporations are using what we call a technology-driven approach to training. We need to use AI, we need to use VR, etc. What we're saying is, let's rethink that. You should have a design-driven approach. The instructional design will drive which technology is best. Now, we use AI, we use VR, but a lot of times people are using that out of context for what we call the wow factor. Look how cool it is, but are people learning from it? Quick example, did some work for a medical company and they had surgeons in a virtual reality element be able to go into the OR and play around with a medical device. It wasn't very well done. They didn't like the headset. If they hit the control wrong, they were shot across the room, couldn't find out where they were at, etc. Not a very good use of VR. And they wanted that for the wow factor because the technology itself was had a wow factor. Honda, did some work with Honda, with welders, had a virtual welder. It makes sense. They have a hood on, just like a welding hood. And in that case, it was safer because you weren't actually welding. And through that VR, very realistic in the way the welding was done. And the person practicing the welding is getting feedback. Is the welding bead the right size? Do you have the right angle? Great use of VR, not a very good use of VR. So my point there is let the design, the audience, the content, let that drive which of the technologies are best utilized. But I can tell you, everybody's about AI, as you well know. That's one of the driving forces currently.
Yeah, that's the big talk these days, because it's kind of quote unquote new, even though it's been around for a long time. It's really hit the virtual space and the learning space, the education space pretty heavily in the last 2 years for sure.
Yes,
So
definitely.
it's definitely a hot topic, and I don't think it's going to go away for as a hot topic anytime soon because it's just so quickly evolving and it's going to keep evolving. And it's a matter of how much do you see that we should tap into AI, like learn it? Because what I've heard is it's since it's evolving so fast, it's really important that our employees, the people that are in the learning in what you do, that they know it, but they don't have to get so sucked into knowing it perfectly because it is going to be so quickly evolving. What is your take on that?
Yes. So yes, it's not like somebody that needs to know coding to be
Mm,
able to develop, right? The AI kind of has its own engine. I think what people need to realize today, especially in the learning space, is what is or isn't possible. So for instance, most AI that everybody knows, ChatGPT is an example, that goes into a database when you query it through a question. It goes into a database, grabs information, presents it to you. The issue with that is, do you want people going into that database? Is that database, quote, clean, meaning you're going to get a good answer? Um, so there's a lot of complexities and intricacies in the real use of AI when it's going in and looking at databases. And everybody thinks they want to do it. Then they run up against something like not only complexity, but regulatory. We're not going to allow somebody to query a database that has, for instance, customer data in it. So there's a lot to be worked out there. Everybody needs to know what's possible. They also need to know what some of the limiting challenges are. But you're right, it's going to continue to evolve. You have to embrace it or you're going to get left behind.
absolutely. And I know at the beginning I was guilty of that. I was like, I don't really want to embrace this. I'm not ready for this. And there's it you can only stay on that wagon for so long. You're gonna have to jump on the other side of that wagon, the AI train. Otherwise, like you said, you'll get left behind. So I'd like to pivot a little into the business growth aspect of it. It's really important that when as businesses are growing, whether you're starting out or you're scaling, no matter where you are in the journey, that you know your numbers. You're clear on the numbers and your metrics. So, what metrics or evaluation methods are you using with S4 NetQuest to assess the effectiveness of your training programs and ensure that they align with your clients' businesses' objectives?
Are you talking about the measurement of the effectiveness of the learning,
Mm.
or are you talking more about from a business standpoint?
Could we talk into both? Because I think it's important.
Yeah, so ROI and training is the holy grail, right? Everybody wants to know we did the learning, we did the training, was it effective or not? All kinds of ways to measure that. Did sales increase when you retrained the salespeople? The problem is there's a lot of variables that could be affecting that. We have all kinds of metrics. I'll tell you the real issue, Heidi, is this. When a company says they want to measure it, and then you tell them what it actually takes to measure it, great example. We're gonna train half your sales force in the new way, and the other half are going to use the old way, and then we'll compare those scientific method. They don't want to do that because they know the training's better. But there are all kinds of metrics. It's just whether or not you're willing to go the length required to measure it. I'll give you a quick example. We redid 6 large call centers for a global insurance company. Call centers where people are calling in and asking questions about their insurance policy, et cetera. Metrics there, first time call resolution went way, way up. Calls the help desk almost eliminated. The big one was employee retention in those call centers went up 25%. And customer sat scores from JD Power went up dramatically. So we can actually measure business results if the company is willing to go the lengths necessary to do that.
So can you share, as the president of S4 NetQuest, what was your inspiration for the launch of your company, and what are your day-to-day basically activities or responsibilities inside of S4 NetQuest?
Yes. So believe it or not, I was going to be a commercial pilot. So Ohio State has a 4-year program where you get a 4-year degree and all the ratings necessary to become a commercial pilot. Trained at United. This is many, many years ago. It was fun, not what I wanted to do for a career. Loved the training aspect of it. Returned to Ohio State, completed my PhD in instructional design and technology, and actually ran flight education division there for several years. And in 2000, with 2 other partners, we opened S4 NetQuest. So this is year 25 for us.
Wow, congratulations. I didn't realize it was
Thank
that
you.
long, and I had done my
Yeah.
research. So that's incredible.
Yes.
So can you share some, since you've been going for 25 years, can you share some, like, have been a standout challenge or one of your biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome it during your growth while you're growing?
Wow, that's a really good question. A couple of things, just in training in general. In many organizations, training is seen as a necessary evil. You got to do it. You got to train them, get it done as quickly as possible, spend the least amount of money on it as possible. So to be able to go into an organization and say, we want to help you do training when they're not going to spend the money on that like they do sales and marketing. You have to be able to demonstrate to them that it is actually effective, that it can be a competitive advantage. So the training space itself can be a challenge. Luckily, ours is so well done through our impact learning design that once we do a small project, we normally then get other projects. That's kind of our business model. We'll do a proof of concept, and then that grows. Johnson & Johnson, for instance, has been a client for 12 years. And no company of that size and magnitude is going to work with you for 12 years if you're not giving them the results they need.
So can we talk about what you do for, like, how do you track and optimize customer retention? You just shared you have them for 12 years.
Yeah, it's mainly in the results that we get. As I said, we'll normally start with something small and pilot that, and then from there, we can grow it. For instance, we can have the greatest effect with impact learning is at a program level. So rather than doing 1 or 2 modules, if we can take all of your onboarding as an example, then you can really see the effect. And you can really get some major measurement metrics in there as well. So we normally start small and build into much larger programmatic types of projects.
Which is great because you're starting with a single focused space, get results, and then you can compound and grow from there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as we're moving through 2025, Dr. Guilkey, what specific strategies are you implementing with S4 NetQuest in your growth and visibility in the markets?
Yeah, so in 25 years, think about it, Heidi, we've tried everything under the sun with
Yeah.
sales and marketing, right? So we're really, if you boil it down, we're an expert model. We're telling you that we're more expert at training than other vendors, as well as, in many cases, the people in your organization, right? So for us, if we can get to the right person and they have a problem, we're going to win that one. So what we've done is we're now attending conferences, and you've seen this model before, where you are guaranteed 10 half-hour meetings with training executives. For us, it's the CLO, Chief Learning Officer. We do 4 of those a year now, and we get to talk with them. We know in advance what their issues are. They know we're there to sell to them. We demo some of our work, and that has had an unbelievable effect on our sales and marketing. Highly, highly effective. It's where most of our efforts go today.
So you've tested a lot of different methods, strategies, and you've really honed in to the one that's most effective for you, efficient, and gets you in front of the right people, because that really matters. Really matters.
Yeah, that's the critical thing. We've always been able to speak at conferences and such, but in many cases, I would do a speech at a conference. People would come up and ask me for a job afterwards. As you said, not the right audience. This not only pinpoints the right audience, it's an audience that has a need that I can fill. So they match us up. And as I said, highly, highly effective.
So, Dr. Gilkey, what are your growth goals for the next 6 months?
For the next 6 months, we're looking at probably 20% growth, something like that, I would say.
And if you had a magic wand and could fix one issue right now that you see that's like your biggest issue, what would that be?
More opportunities, being able to get in front of more people that have the need. Because again, think about it. If you have an inferior product, it doesn't matter how many people you get in front of.
Right.
If you have a superior product, which we do through impact learning, if we get in front, as I said earlier, if we get in front of the right people, we're going to win those. So the more we can get in front of, the better. And so what we're doing is not only are we, when we go to these conferences, doing 10 meetings, we're also now keynoting as well. And so instead of just 10 meetings, I'm now showing our products, our approach to 100 people at a time. And again, highly, highly effective.
I have one more question for you, Dr. Gilkey. And
Sure.
if we were to revisit this conversation in 1 year from now, so looking out 12 months, what would define a successful year for you?
Two things. To continue to expand the portfolio, meaning number of clients I have. And we have a lot of new clients now, which have achieved in the last 6 to 8 months, expanding those through account management.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your insights and your expertise and your time, especially today. For those that are listening, for our listeners, how could they connect with you and reach out to you?
Yes, you can go to our website at www.s4netquest.com, and there's examples of our work there. You can set up a meeting with me if you want to talk about some of the challenges you face. You can also reach me at jguilkey, Guilkey, at s4netquest.com.
Perfect. So make sure that you reach out to Dr. Gilkey, and we're going to have all of his information in the show notes, the contact information, website, all the good things for you, so you can easily reach out and connect with him. Again, thank you, Dr. Gilkey, for your time. And for you listening, if you are looking to grow your visibility and get in front of more of the right people, then go ahead and download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com blueprint, where we show you exactly the step-by-step way to make that happen. Again, go connect with Dr. Guilkey. You can reach him out at S4 NetQuest. I just had it up.com. I thought so, but I was like, I wanted to say the right thing. S4netquest.com. And again, we'll have all of Dr. Gilkey's show note information in the show notes. Dr. Gilkey, is there anything that you want to share that I didn't get to ask you or touch on before we go?
No, Heidi, but I really appreciate you taking time today to chat with us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And hopefully we can have you on in the future. Maybe we'll come revisit in a year and talk about all the good things that that you've created and have been going on in your company. So thank you, Dr. Gilkey. Thank you for listening and being here today with both of us. If you're enjoying this conversation on your favorite podcast platform, please leave us a review. If you're on YouTube watching Dr. Gilkey and I, please subscribe and let him know when you reach out that you heard him here. And we will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight podcast.